What's happening, friends? Look how fancy we're getting over here. This is going to be the new platform for Thing 100 podcast, and I'm pretty stoked about it. And had some help, and thanks for the help setting this all up. And I can share screens and stuff. So fancy, so fancy. So this would be technically episode three, and three, episode three. Episode three originally was going to be my wife and I. And as I started putting that together, I could see where that was going to cause a lot of fights. And if you've been following me on Facebook, you'll know that probably would have been the case as we are no longer together. So yeah, that would have just probably hastened to that happening. Um, the no longer together part is no one's fault in particular. We were two very different people. There should be a lot of funny stories about how different we were and how different we thought. And I thought we were doing one thing, and she thought we were going to do another thing, and we eventually realized we weren't doing that thing. And so um, those are the two questions I get the most right now is what happened to Sticky and what happened to Mikey and I. And so Sticky, the Christmas Eve of 2024, I noticed that he was sitting on the arm of the couch all day and sleeping on the arm of the couch. And we had 20, 30 people in and out of the house, and he didn't like people, so that normally wouldn't be what he would do. And I noticed that evening that he was still there. So that was the first sign that anything was going weird with him. And then, so that was Christmas Eve. And then on the 29th, we noticed he was having problems breathing. And so between Christmas Eve and the 29th, he was okay. And um, by the 30th, we had to rush him down to the vet, and his lungs had filled with fluid. So they think he had some kind of fast growing cancer. And they've seen it in those kind of cats before. So um, I kind of feel like he was maybe here longer than he had planned on being here. And I know that it's spiritual and spacey and whatever, but I do feel like, yeah, that he didn't realize how far I was going to run with that purpose he was dropping off on me. Um, so yeah, that's what happened there, and it was rough. And then we're going to get into where that led to in a moment here, but yeah, as far as the Mikey and I thing is concerned, that's really what it came down to. We were very different people, and we just wanted different things. And yeah, there's no bad guy. So anyway, um, move on from that to where the sticky thing led, which is a weird anniversary today, and I'm going to share my screen. Ready for this? Yeah, that's me. That is me a year ago today. It's not great to see yourself like that on Facebook. But the reason I put that on there is because I had decided in this moment here, in these uh, black and white photos, that I didn't have to be here anymore. I just was like, you know what? I don't have to do any of this anymore. And I talked to someone today that I worked with back then, and so many people in that company still think I lost my shit because my cat died. And that is true in a way, but it was really more about what he represented and what he was doing for me. And he was kind of the dam for the problems in my marriage and uh, just any bad thing. He was a good distraction, and man, what a distraction that he ended up being. So, um, when he died that suddenly, I wasn't prepared for that. And it also happened to be on the same day my twins turned 18. And so I had literally been seeing a therapist about that coming because on that day, that was going to be the end of 35 years of parenting for me. I wouldn't have any more kids under 18, basically. And I had been a parent for way longer than I hadn't. So I didn't know what else to do. And so luckily, I had already been going to see a therapist about that. And then Sticky died suddenly on that same day. And when he died, I knew that was going to be the end of my relationship. And I wrote about that in Stupid Cat. So if you've read Stupid Cat, I knew that that was most likely the outcome of that. And so, when people think that it was about me getting to that point where I was going to get on that train, and um, it wasn't about the one thing. I wasn't doing it over this one person. I wasn't doing it over my cat. I wasn't doing it over one specific thing over the boys turning 18. It was the perfect storm of all of that coming together. And that's really what ended up getting me. And so a lot of people don't understand what that is. I wouldn't have understood it before I got there. And that's the reason I'm sharing this screen. So, all right, here we go. So those first two pictures, I don't really know the order, but I think the one on the right is the one as I just decided, and the one on the left is, a few seconds later. And why did I take those? I don't know. Um, I don't know why I did a lot of things back then, but I was really just confused. Like I wanted to see my face. Like, what does my face look like right now? Because I had the weirdest. I would look at myself in the mirror and I wouldn't see a reflection. As I'm heading downhill fast. And it's not like a vampire. It's like just a gray outline of where I should be. And so, but I could look, off to the side and I would see Sadie, my dog, down next to me, perfect. So I just couldn't see me. Any other time in my life, I would be freaking out about that and, telling everyone, hey, what's going on? I can't see. I knew it was happening when it was happening, but I didn't care. And that's the point you get to is you don't care. And so I didn't care. And I would just go on with life. And it was just all of those things coming together, just kind of hit me like a wet blanket, wrapped me up, and just sunk me. And so to come out of that, which is now why I'm sharing this. I shared this and someone said, not everyone will see this. This might be its own post, but it really should be its own podcast because this is really it's the message for the people who are left behind in this. And someone asks in this thread here what it took to get me out of that state of mind. So these first two black and white pictures are as I decide I'm going to get on this train and I don't have to be here anymore. I don't have to do any of this. I don't have to be a pain in the ass to my family. I can just go. And the next two pictures are about an hour later. And those are people I worked with, and good friend of mine, Felipe, Tori over here. And I'm happy. I was stoked. Like it felt like I was really going to go on a trip. And I planned that more meticulously than anything I've ever planned in my life. I knew what I was going to wear. I knew what I was going to listen to. I knew everything. Like I knew it was literally like a trip. I knew I had 2 minutes and 5 seconds before this song was over. So from the time I sat down, I had 2 minutes and 5 seconds to do what I was going to do. And it was just bizarre to me to think back now, or it is bizarre to me to think back now, how rational that seemed. So for the folks who have lost someone and feel like, if they would have called more, if they would have done more, that kind of thing. Excuse me while I set up this other thing here. I think it's important to know that so when people ask me, or people, yeah, that's what the comment asked me, is what did it take to get me out of that mindset? It was 100 different things that were just random and they didn't connect anywhere. No one could have connected them for me, and I couldn't have told you what they were. But it was like I needed these 100 things, and I needed them by 9 o'clock on January 20th, or I was going to get on that train. And I didn't even know it. And they just kind of trickled in slowly, and then towards the end, quicker and quicker. But they were such random things. And a lot of people think if I would have called more, if I would have come to visit more, then this wouldn't have happened. And it's just not true. It's your person just didn't get the 100 things. That's really what it comes down to. And another call wouldn't have done it. Your call was thing 82. And, your next call wouldn't have been thing 83. It had to be these other things. And so, excuse me. So when I say, they were so random, it was a woman in a craft store so at the time this happens, I'm on the news everywhere. And everywhere I go, someone knows my cat died. And people will literally yell across the store, like Sticky, Chuck. And it was very sweet. But really, at the time, it's just reminding me of all of these other things that I'm about to lose. And they don't know what I'm about to lose, but I do. And so it was heavy. Then we're on the news. And then you can feel, we call it the sticky look. You can feel when, after I've been on the news or I've been in something and people want to talk to me and they look at me in a certain way, it's the same look all the time. And so we got to know what that look was. You could feel it happening after we were on the news about him dying, but there was no sticky left. And so I just became this sideshow. And so I'm at this craft store and I'm buying my wife one last gift for her birthday that was coming up. And she's into knitting. And so I start talking to this woman, the only woman in the knitting aisle. And she was a very cool lady and she helped me out and chatted and she got me laughing. And that was the first time I had laughed in a while. And I didn't think she knew who I was. She just treated me like the most normal person. And so I'm getting ready to leave and I thank her and I start to walk away and she puts her hand on my arm and she says, oh, I'm gonna cry. And she says, I'm so sorry about your kitty. And I didn't get her name. Like I just burst into tears and give her a hug. And I don't know if I said anything. I don't remember. I know I went and paid for the thing that I was getting and I left. I didn't get her name. And if you see this, please get in touch with me because man, it was a big deal. It was thing 97. Like that's what it was. And so it's not your fault that your person didn't stay. It's they just weren't lucky enough to get their 100 things in time. And why I don't know, but maybe it's because I have this weird little cat platform and I can help people and and maybe that's what I'm supposed to do with it. So that's what I'm going to try to do with it. And it's literally the reason that this podcast is called Thing 100 Um, Another thing that happened, the thing that got me talking about this was I was super depressed and people were being so sweet on uh, Facebook and so kind to me and just so sweet. Hundreds and hundreds of comments. And I'm laying in bed scrolling through these comments. And there's one little comment in there that said that they had checked themselves into a psych ward when their cat died and no one understood. And to me, it was like this little woman standing in the corner in this room of loud people, all saying beautiful things, but she's just off in the corner and she just whispered that like she was, almost embarrassed to say it. But I saw it and I understood it. And so I told, I commented on there and said, I understand that. And that's the comment that got me talking about it. So that was probably, one of the more important things in those 100 things. So fast forward and the Stupid Cat book comes out and it really helps this woman and or she really enjoys it anyway. And I think it helped someone that she knew and she sends me a message and in this message she's telling me how much it helped and I'm just awesome message. And she just mentioned something about the hospital and I realized that's the woman who commented. And so I sent her back an email and I said, hey, your comment is one of the things that, pulled me out of this. And she comments back that surely, that comment wasn't the thing that saved you. And it struck me that people don't know that one little act of kindness, one little thing could be the thing that saves someone. And that was my original message when I found Sticky. One of the first messages that I read after it went viral was a guy in England who didn't kill himself because me stopping for a kitten in America gave him hope that there were kind people still in the world. So even when your little act of kindness isn't towards someone else, it does do that butterfly effect thing. So um, this woman, I could tell that she didn't feel like she did much for the world. A lot of the messages I get are from people who feel like they don't do a lot for the world. And this woman was talking about how she could just rescue a few cats now and then, and that's how she could help. And so I sent her back a message telling her, hey, you saved a guy with that comment. That was one of the 100 things I needed. So that's how this podcast ended up being called Thing 100. And so this is a good way to get back into it. Episode 3 of Thing 100. So anyway, my message there is I'm sorry if you've lost someone and they they're not when they were leaving, they thought they were doing something good for everyone. And really, that kind of pain is just it's unbearable. Like it's a it's better to get on the train and go. That's what you feel like. But if you're in that situation tonight, I will also tell you it's not better. That wouldn't have ended up being a solution to anything, and it would have caused so many more problems down the line. And my kids were one of the things that were one of those 100 things. A conversation with each of my sons was one of those 100 things. A little girl in the grocery store in a cart. I remember her. That was fun. Um, we were playing kind of peekaboo in line, and I could feel people staring at me, and she had no idea about anything. So that was really cool. So that little girl right there, she'll never know that that little peekaboo game saved a dude. It did. That's one of the 100 things I needed. So anyway, I don't know how long this has gone. Is there a way for me to find that out? I'm not that good yet, but I do dig that I can do this. And we're going to do a lot more of them. And we're going to have guests. And we have some cool guests coming up and some crazy parts of Chuck life that, man, I've had a weird life. I don't feel like it's weird until I talk to other people. And then I'm like, holy shit, that's weird. Like, yeah, that doesn't happen to everyone. Nope. Okay. So, you know what? I got a message from another person that Stupid Cat helped, and they wanted me to know that my misery wasn't wasted. And I love that. And so if, you know, I've had a lot of misery in the last year, and if there's a way for that to not go wasted, I would appreciate that. If we could just use that for something good. So, anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna split, and February 6th, I believe now it is. I have another article coming out in Huffington Post. I'm supposed to mention that. And in April, I have a really cool one coming out, and I can't even still mention it. So that's really cool. And I bet we get some cool guests on this. So, all right, let's get back into life. And we're back, and we got this cool set. You know who that is? That's Laird Hamilton right there. You understand? The cool thing about this photo, or about him riding this wave, is how he's reaching down and slowing himself down with his outside hand. And that's for a whole different show. But anyway, have a great evening, friends. Hug those peeps.